You couldn't keep up.
Good morning, Richland County. It's 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, August 13th. The Richland County Board of Commissioners is now in session. I'm County Commissioner Cliff Mears, joined by fellow Commissioners Vero and Banks, our Senior Clerk Stacy Kroll, County Administrator Andrew Keller, and we're joined with a citizen from Springfield Township, Travis Minier. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Carl Hunnell is online with Richland Source. So we'll get into the agenda right now, and I'll ask for a motion to certify the record of proceedings for August 11th.
So moved. I have one.
Okay.
And if you go to tape 0.03.15, there's a need for an executive session.
I fixed it
Oh, you fix it on there?
on Cliff's and I wrote on Tony, so,
Okay.
but yes,
We'll just.
I put ax instead of an. Yep.
So my motion will stand, Commissioner Banks.
Mine second.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes,
Can I have a motion to approve requisitions?
so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve weekly transfers and appropriations?
A question first, and this is just more knowledge, and Stacy, you probably know offhand. I see that we're transferring an over $6,000 of taxpayer money for continued unemployment costs at CAC, which is a non-general fund operation. Do you have a ballpark number on how much the taxpayers are paying for the closure of that operation that was supposed to be completely self-sufficient?
I can get it, but I do not have it.
Please get that, because I think I wouldn't be, you think we're in the close to 20, in the 20s?
Hmm.
It's pitched as a self-sufficient operation, not needing general fund, and we're approaching over $20,000, if not more.
To
in
close it.
employment cost. So if you could take a look at that, I'd appreciate it, just so I could
Yes,
note that.
Who was running that?
I believe, your favorites, judges.
I'm pleased.
I'll make a motion to approve, but that's a lot of money.
Second.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
And I would like to remove an approval, motion for approval of the agreement with Erie County, which was an as-needed contract for bed space during our renovations. I want to make sure the prosecutor's office has had a chance to review
I
those.
had some questions about that anyway. Did you notice it was only for 5 months? Like, it didn't make sense to me. It was from August to the end of this year. Or if needed, but. All right, so we're gonna pull that.
We're gonna pull that for right now. We'll
Okay.
probably bring it back Tuesday if they get time to look it over.
They haven't got the construction done, but
Late and they've had to close, a wing at a time.
right.
So it's been an overflow capacity.
And we'll have,
Get off my contracts.
we'll have 3 sliced slots for our signatures and posted one. Erie County put this contract together. They each had an opportunity to sign off and they only had 1 signature for us. I asked for that change. Okay, before 2 travel requests.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Carl, do you have questions on any of that?
No, sir.
Okay. Travis, I'll turn it over to you. What's on your mind?
Travis, how do we spell your last name and your address?
Minier, Minear. My address is 1770 Kenmore Drive, Mansfield, 44906.
Okay.
Of course, that's a Mansfield address, but it's a Springfield Township address.
Come on up, man.
Thank you. I have a testimony kind of prepared here and I'll try to make this quick. So probably nothing new coming up here, but if I may approach, I'll kind of just distribute that and then,
Yeah.
I'll stick to the script here pretty much and go from there. So try to kind of cite some things in there as well. So you'll see like a referencing page and I don't know if the clerk would like one or use one. So yeah, some extras here, no problem at all. Okay, hopefully everything's good there. So.
One for a county administrator as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I did bring one and then I'll, should read for it. So. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll just kind of stick to things and just kind of go from there. So I'll just kind of read from the script. So, thank you for allowing public comments today during today's Richland County Commissioners meeting. Please let me begin by acknowledging the critical role commissioners played last year by protecting the citizens of Richland County when they restricted development of commercial solar and wind production facilities. By doing so, you affirmed the identity of Richland County, respected the citizens' will, and helped preserve our way of life. In May, voters clearly supported your decision when they cast ballots to uphold the safeguards you enacted. On behalf of your constituents throughout Richland County, I'm urging you to again protect your constituents. This time, however, we implore you to rescind all contracts and funding related to mass surveillance technology deployed in the county, particularly automatic license plate readers, widely known as flock cameras. That, in the opinion of many, violate constitutionally protected rights, disrupt community trust, and pose serious risks related to technological mistakes and potential misuse. So, to begin with, the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, Article 1 and Article 1, Section 14 of Ohio's Constitution protect individual rights to be free from illegal, unwarranted searches and seizures. As you know, these provisions require governments and law enforcement to obtain search warrants while conducting investigations. ALPRs and similar technology warrantlessly surveil and store data on all citizens, or again, citizens that would be passing the cameras, thus treating every person, and again, in the opinion of many, as criminal suspects, and in turn, violating their constitutional rights. Those familiar with Ohio law know the county commissioners do not pass laws in the legislative sense. We also understand commissioners do not have jurisdiction over municipalities throughout the county and must respect lawful conduct of other elected officials. Therefore, we do not request legislative solution to address these issues. We merely seek cancellation of contracts as a remedy. Right now, many jurisdictions in the United States are reviewing use of mass surveillance technology in light of privacy and constitutional concerns. A growing number of localities are choosing to respect the rights of the citizens they're sworn to protect. According to a watchdog organization, dflock.org, 100 jurisdictions throughout the United States have rejected ALPRs. Close to home, the Knox County Sheriff recently stated that his agency would not pursue implementation of controversial flock cameras. And you can see I have that cited there from news reports. Community feedback played a significant role in shaping the decision to decline employing flock technology in Knox County, the sheriff stated. Elsewhere in Ohio, media reports have identified the city of Ironton as seeking to preemptively ban ALPRs based on concerns about privacy and constitutional rights. Reportedly, the city council and mayor unanimously support and the protective measures in the ordinance, which could receive a vote later this month. Similar efforts are underway in Bucyrus, where the city council is drafting an ordinance to ban flock cameras on municipal property. In fact, the Bucyrus law director says he believes the devices are unconstitutional. A vote on the ordinance in Bucyrus would come later, or could come later this month, according to reports. Countless other locations are taking steps to review, restrict, or ban technology for myriad reasons. Another high-profile case involves the city of Dayton suspending use of flock cameras due to concerns related to data sharing and potential misuse, as well as the stated need to further review of the technology. So, of course, it is important to know that all these actions, whether preventive or remedial in nature, are taking place in light of a recent United States Supreme Court ruling that struck down as unconstitutional the law enforcement practice of geofencing, which involves agencies' use of sprawling cell phone location data. Law scholars say that geofencing tactics used by police relate to electronically searching every device in an area. From there, officers can expand an administrative warrant to target specific data for which they are looking. Justices ruled that these strategies could be viewed as unreasonable searches and seizures. While the Supreme Court's ruling on geofencing did not directly relate to the use of ALPRs like those operated by Flock, Axon, Motorola, and other big tech companies that deploy devices nationwide, it would not be unreasonable to conclude that the large-scale dragnet surveillance operations like ALPRs, which capture a picture of every passing vehicle and store it in a searchable AI network, could be determined similarly unconstitutional in future court rulings. Again, the feelings expressed in the previous sentence are my own and not those officially held by the court. However, it is doubtless that the sentiment is shared by thousands in Richland County, millions in Ohio, and millions more throughout America. Another troubling aspect in this public perception is the public perception of inadequate oversight and technological errors documented with Flock and related technology. Numerous news reports from around the country highlight officials misusing search powers linked to these powerful AI cameras. Essentially, many examples of alleged misconduct, employment dismissals, and even some criminal charges that regularly emerge. I would like to pause and express support for Richland County law enforcement. I greatly respect the sheriff's office and all local agencies. I've witnessed their courage and professionalism. However, our constitutionally protected freedoms codified in the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 14 of Ohio's Constitution protect privacy and require a warrant for searches and seizures. In addition, mistakes with Flock's technology could have led to tragic errors in which innocent people have been subjected to trauma due to errors made by the ALPRs and their management systems. In Colorado, use of Flock technology led to an innocent woman being charged with theft until she later proved the accusations, which stemmed from a Flock camera investigation, were erroneous and the charges were dropped. And I cited that as well. In Toledo, a man has sued the city for unlawful excessive force after he was attacked by a police canine during a traffic stop. The whole ordeal was initiated by a false Flock camera hit, as the article described it, that identified as stolen the car operated by the man. The car was not stolen. A Flock ALPR misread the vehicle's license plate and provided incorrect results. Earlier this month in Wisconsin, a Flock camera incorrectly flagged a vehicle as linked to a Milwaukee murder. An innocent driver and passenger were held at gunpoint before finally being released. And there's so many other examples of serious problems with this technology. Throughout the United States, it is believed that license plate cameras scan 20 billion license plates per month. I've got the citation for where that estimate came from. According to Flock's safety transparency portal for Richland County Sheriff's Office, 15 total cameras are used by the department. For the last 30 days, this was information that I looked up yesterday, 318,247 unique plate reads were conducted as of August 12th. Even if Flock's accuracy rate is 99%, which many consider unlikely, there is a potential for more than 3,182 mistaken reads each month in Richland County based on data provided for the last 30 days as of yesterday. The persistent possibility of serious errors could lead to alarming results due to problems with Flock's technology. Of course, these figures would not account for municipalities employing such technology, meaning that the number of possible mistaken reads could be much higher within our county's borders. The issue becomes even more concerning due to many jurisdictions lacking codified laws to govern use of ALPR technology. That means law enforcement agencies are essentially creating their own rules, which could provide some guidance, but lack proper enforcement mechanisms and oversight, according to watchdog organizations such as the American Civil Liberties Union of Ohio. Currently, Ohio lacks statewide laws to provide meaningful checks and balances on the use of ALPRs and similar surveillance technology. In closing, thank you for listening to my public comments and protecting our citizens on the wind and solar issue. Thank you again for everything that you do as elected officials. We support the job that you do here. We hope that commissioners will review and consider the facts. Please remember, these comments are not targeted at Richland County Sheriff's Office or other law enforcement officials or elected officials in general, all of whom I greatly respect and admire. However, given the facts, it is imperative that Richland County commissioners, and again, in my opinion, cancel existing contracts related to mass surveillance technology, such as ALPRs, to respect constitutional rights, protect public trust, and avoid technological mistakes and potential errors. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Travis.
I appreciate it.
Yep. So
For a second, Carl with Richland Source may have a question for you.
Okay.
Carl, would you like to talk to Mr. Travis? Mr. Travis, Mr. Menier?
that's fine. Yeah.
I would like to invite to have a conversation with Mr. Menier after this at some point. So if you'd like to send me an email, it's just carl.hunnell@richlandsource.com. I'd like to talk with you in person.
Yeah, that would be fine. So, just can you repeat that email for me one more time?
Yep, it's CARL dot
Okay.
HUNNELL
Okay.
at richlandsource.com.
Okay. I will send you an email as soon as I get home then.
So
Thank you,
Travis,
sir.
one of the things I like to do is have a dialogue with
Sure.
residents. I mean, you come in, just you read a statement, we don't have a dialogue, so.
Sure. And I didn't want to
Um,
give I didn't want to give the impression that it was like an ambush or something.
no, not,
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
we're excited to have someone here, so I'm like, hey,
Yeah, and I appreciate, like I said, with that, the wind and solar issue, I'm proud of to say that you guys are my commissioners, because that was a tough decision. It was a lot of out-of-state money coming in, but felt like it was definitely something that the people wanted, and obviously they voted that way afterwards.
I think it was
Appreciate it.
think it was $447,000 from out of.
I can only imagine. I kept getting mailers every day from,
I have-
and I'm like,
Right.
who are these organizations? And I look up, and I'm like, they don't even have an Ohio address. What's that
No.
about? So,
Or San
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, sure.
So I know this has become a discussion point and a good discussion point too, because I do think, a Constitution is sacred. So I've been talking to residents. I did talk to the sheriff's office yesterday and they are reviewing. So a little bit, oftentimes when our law enforcement agencies come and make recommendations, we're gonna go with the recommendation of the duly. Now, we're not always gonna say if everything that Sheriff Sheldon were to come in and say, I want you to just do this,
Sure.
this, and this, we would do it. But so we're on matters of public safety, we sort of lean on what their advice. They do it every day. I had another conversation with someone who has years of experience in the justice system and a very conservative person. I don't want to out that person because he or she may not want their name specifically mentioned, but his exact quote to me was, "They're fantastic." I have my cell phone on me. People know where we are at all hours of the day. And he goes, "They have been absolutely instrumental in solving armed robberies and serious crimes in Richland County." I'm saying, hey, man, there's some serious concerns with these. We haven't had any issues here in terms of mistaken identity, overuse, but that's not to say we never will. And he said they have been tremendously helpful in solving serious, serious crimes in our county. What would be the counter to that person? Because I'm just gathering information right now as I communicate with the sheriff's office. There's also residents who like that protection. They have been instrumental all across the country in child abductions.
Okay.
I mean, I can only imagine if I don't know if do you have kids or, okay, I have a child. If there was ever an incident and a flock camera helped get my child back, how grateful I would be. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you impinge upon constitutional rights. So it's
Sure.
not an easy. So what is the counter to law enforcement saying, hey, they are an unbelievable tool in preserving justice and safety in our community?
Sure, and I respect law enforcement. Like I said, I want to make that clear. And this is a nuanced issue that's not necessarily all. So I kind of try to see all sides on this, but the Constitution is pretty clear on investigations, on searches, seizures, again, and that type of thing, and it says that a warrant's required. So I understand that this obviously is a powerful tool. Can be used in a variety of ways, could be potentially misused in a variety of ways. And I think that's something that, obviously you guys are discussing. The sheriff's office, I'm sure, is reviewing, all law enforcement's taking a look at, and those types of things. But the Constitution of the state of Ohio and the U.S. Constitution are pretty clear that warrants are required in some of these cases. Now, again, there's the argument of, we witness something firsthand, and some violent crime or whatnot. Do you have to get a warrant for that? Obviously, there's some leeway there in cases of emergency and stuff like that. But I think the big concern that most people, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, I know you have, and you've looked into this issue, but the big concern is just that data is being stored, and it's just, it's 30 days, and then it's, that type of thing. So I would kind of default back to the Constitution, which is there obviously for a reason. And it basically says that search warrants are necessary. And like I said, in case of emergency, obviously a witnessing of a crime, certainly maybe doesn't require a warrant, but in terms of searching and kind of looking through the data and the videos and things like that. And like I mentioned, kind of in my, I forget which paragraph it was of my presentation, the Supreme Court of the United States recently ruled that the geofencing issue, which is not the exact same as the ALPRs, was unconstitutional. They're kind of casting that drag net. They're kind of coming through. They're requesting information, and it's some people, like some legal scholars, might liken it to like a fishing expedition. You're kind of throwing that net out there, kind of seeing what you get. And again, I know law enforcement probably would support that, because again, and they probably have some issues where maybe that did lead to some arrests or some charges. But I know I've seen a lot of people would say, well, you're in public, you don't have the right to privacy. But if we apply that to the First Amendment and not only the Fourth Amendment, then we're starting to go down that slippery slope that I know people hear about all the time. Which again, we do the constitutional amendments of the state and the U.S. Constitution do provide for public privacy. So again, I would just default for the sake of just repeating myself, I would default to search warrants are mandated by the Constitution, and that's kind of where I would go. I can share any more comments.
I had a resident say to me, relate them to, DUI checkpoints,
Mhm.
right? Now, those have been held. Now, I actually think that those are much more, I think there are more constitutionals with a DUI checkpoint, from my point of view,
Okay.
legally than a flock camera.
Okay.
Okay. From a search and seizure standpoint,
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of those, and I know our sheriff isn't either.
Okay.
Right? But those have been upheld to be not in violation of the Constitution.
Mhm.
That's an actual stop. What's not considered a stop.
Yeah.
And from a search and seizure standpoint, that's a stopping without.
Yeah.
Those have been upheld to be okay. So my comment and conversation, good dialogue was, if those are okay, what would be the relative discussion or comparison with flock cameras where there are no stops, and you're driving? What say you to those people that checkpoints have been upheld to be not in violation of the Constitution?
Well, ultimately, probably the courts will decide this issue at some point. I know there, like I mentioned in my testimony, there are jurisdictions, and I'm sure there are a lot more than even what I found, that are rescinding contracts, that are preemptively trying to get ahead of this issue, especially with the lack of any kind of like official statewide kind of regulation. So I would say basically, again, the courts will decide, but I probably would side with you on checkpoints and things like that a whole lot. So I know there's public safety benefits to it. But again, I'm sure the courts will decide one way or another kind of where this is headed. But again, I would just kind of default to, and again, that's where, it's going to be a legal interpretation. Ultimately, that'll decide if these things are going to stay or go. And
In the absence of clear legal guidance, and this is a great discussion. Is it your belief that in the absence of clear legal guidance, that the contract should be rescinded even if they're eventually upheld, meaning they're constitutional?
again, my view would be that they are, and obviously not a lawyer, not a legal scholar, not a judge, not a magistrate. But I would say that in my view, they are unconstitutional. So I would like to see just gotten rid of.
Okay, so let's say the courts say, no, they are constitutional.
Mhm.
Then what?
Again, that's where, as the board has protected rights over in previously in specific instances, and I'm sure many more instances that I'm not even familiar with because I don't attend these meetings. I kind of check the news and
I
whatnot,
hope
but
you come back.
yeah. But I would say again, I would like to see the commissioners make that step to, in my opinion, protect the rights. And again, obviously, if the courts rule a certain way and it goes through the appellate process and all of those types of things, then they may be results that we have to live with one way or the other. And obviously, complicated issues like this, not every side's going to be happy, but hopefully, we can peacefully, which is obviously what you guys are doing. Law enforcement does. I'm trying to do kind of debate this issue. And again, I'm hoping that some of the precedent, like the Supreme Court case that I kind of mentioned in my testimony, will be kind of considered. Obviously, that was a federal law, not necessarily a state issue and that type of thing. So I'm not sure how that'll play into things. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, obviously, I'm not talking to, I'm sure you guys hear about this a lot more than I do, just as an individual, but there's a strong push or strong kind of stance on people feel like they got left out of this because there was no vote, even though, again, there has been, our representatives have voted. That's, going on here and elsewhere. But again, they kind of just emerge. There are more and more of them that are coming up. And so I think they're just kind of raising, some constitutional concerns. Obviously, whatever the final result is, whether it's a legislative fix, I've heard some things that there's some legislation that hasn't been introduced yet at the state level. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I was in contact with the state rep's office, not our state rep, but another state rep who said they were working on some potential legislation. They couldn't comment a whole lot on it because it was just in the draft form. That could help with things. But yeah, I would just kind of say that my opinion is that they would be unconstitutional. Yeah, I mean, even if they would be ruled constitutional at some point, I would be against their use, but, you know, like I said, we'll see kind of how, this shakes out in the courts. I'm sure those decisions are gonna be.
Yeah, I have a problem with checkpoints.
Travis, you
Yes.
made some good points and you handled it very well.
Thank you.
I have seen articles on TV and in print that talk about how many lives, abductions,
Mhm.
other crimes. I lean towards that until the Constitution is decided one way or the other. And as far as needing a warrant and all that, obviously we have to have a warrant to go to someone's house or search their car or
Mhm.
whatever. But
Not always.
when you're on, well, yeah, when you're on a public street, I'm not sure that, and I don't know the answer.
Sure.
I'm not sure that applies. So,
Mhm.
you bring up some good points, but I would rather protect kids that get abducted, crime that they can go until somebody on that side can convince me.
Mhm.
And I guess until the courts say, they'll lean towards keeping the flock cameras.
Yeah, in my opinion, matters like this, Travis, there's trade-offs in all decisions you make. And what we need to do is do the most good for the most people, knowing that there are trade-offs.
Mhm.
It's never all good or all bad.
Okay.
So those are decisions that have to be made.
Yep. Yep. I didn't want, like I said, didn't want to come today, giving the impression of an ambush or anything.
Absolutely
Yeah, just
not.
make sure I brought.
Public.
No, you're welcome anytime. We
Handle this.
Yeah, you should come back to budget season. Carla's there for.
I was telling Commissioner Mears that I'm no longer involved with the media, but I did cover Ashland County Commissioners for a number of years.
Way better than him.
My representative, so I'll side with.
No, make sure you tell him that too.
Communication with them a whole lot anymore, but I think there's one commissioner over there that was on the board when I was. No, it's Mike Welch.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
Good guy.
it was back when I was there, it was Mike Welch, Kim Edwards, and Matt Miller were the three that was there. So it's been a while, but yeah, so yeah, I appreciate.
Thank you.
love to have,
No, we are communicating with the sheriff's office. Just yesterday, I had a conversation, like I said, because I was getting some questions at the fair about them.
Oh, sure.
Made some calls.
Yeah.
And sheriff's office reviewing. You should touch base with them. They're very helpful.
Yeah, I've discussed a little bit with Ontario, just informally, nothing formally and stuff. They were very professional, very respectful, answered some
But
questions.
it is true, they have been extremely instrumental in solving and helping apprehend serious offenses.
Sure.
I was right about that.
Yeah.
That's, you're weighing the interest, so it's not, it's
I don't know if that's
a good discussion.
because I know there's a transparency portal that provides some information. It was helpful to see what agencies they share the data with and stuff like that, and the number of cameras and stuff. So that helps a little bit. But I don't know if maybe coming, and this would obviously be something for the law enforcement entities, but maybe sharing some specific statistics on the numbers and things like that. Obviously, I know there's some restrictions there with ongoing investigations and stuff. So you're kind of trouncing through a gray area, so to speak, in terms of what information can be released at a given time. But yeah, I just know it's controversial, and but yeah, I just wanted
I
to.
wouldn't even consider it controversial. I just think it's a substantive discussion,
Mhm.
serious topic. So, thanks, man.
Go ahead. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
I'm headed to the fair. So
Hey, we. So,
okay. Anything else from me?
yeah.
Okay.
Here.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
is there any other business to come before the board right now? Okay, we have a presentation in 2 minutes, so we will take a recess for 2 minutes.
Good morning.
What's the time? And I'm gonna have to give you permission here to take over too.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Session now. We're
Yes.
recording.
Yes.
Okay. 10:06, Richland County Board of Commissioners is back in session. We're joined by a number of people from the prosecutor's office and some others. Why don't you go around and introduce yourselves for the record while we get this set up?
Amanda Mittis, Chief Civil, APA.
Jody Schumacher, Richland County Prosecuting Attorney.
Brenda, First Assistant.
Macy Edgar, I do the intake at the prosecutor's office.
Allison Young, Investigator.
Martin, Assistant Prosecutor.
Yeah, Dan will have slides to share, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
allow him.
Trying to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Yep. And my name's Danny Gennaro. I'm a representative with Axon.
Are you Italian?
I am.
All right.
Is Ray on, Dan, or no?
He should be joining. He is in the waiting room, I believe.
Okay.
Okay.
He's waiting. I admitted two people. There he is.
Hi, Ray, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Ryan Pitsk. I'm one of the sales engineers here over at Axon, working specifically on the justice platform. For my time here at Axon, I was a director of technology and discovery at Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office, which is where I reside. Pleasure to be with you guys here this morning.
Thank you, Ray. Is it okay to go ahead and start then?
Of course.
Thank you. So good morning, gentlemen. Why are we here today? Essentially, we are here because it all relates back to time. Time is finite. And I know I've been in front of you a number of times, both during full board and maybe even during other conversations that we might have. And I've mentioned it time and time again. Case volume has increased. Cases per APA or assistant prosecutor have done, and all of those are going up, but yet time remains finite. Something has to give in that realm in order for us to continue to meet the demands and to serve the community with justice. And that's ultimately what brings us here then, to talk about these changing demands that are on the office that we've been experiencing and potential ways as to how we can address efficiencies and effectiveness back to the citizen. So just to give a case example here, I brought one case file that contains over 92 digital items of evidence. I have two. In this case, I have two 2 TB, one of them's in one of these envelopes, two 2 TB external hard drives of additional information. I have cell phone downloads, I have thumb drives, I have discs. All of this is significant to the case, is digital evidence that has to be reviewed, has to be discovered, has to be considered, prepared for potential testimony. 92 different cases or 92 different items. I think it's important to mention in this case file, there are also phone downloads. There's one computer download. Now, when we talk about cell phones, I mentioned that we have two 2 TB external hard drives in this case as potential evidence. A cell phone, on average, I would say is probably about 64 gigabytes. I've talked to you before, one of those cell phone downloads can be 25,000 pages long if printed. I have multiple cell phone downloads in this. Now my terabyte is bigger than a gigabyte. I have two 2 terabyte hard drives full of digital evidence. Okay, so with that, and that is just one case. Just one case.
Can I ask Jody, what kind of evidence is this? What kind of data? Just to give us a picture of what
Yeah,
to look at.
it-
Cell phone data, right? What else is there?
So digital evidence can include body cameras, can include home surveillance videos, can include commercial surveillance videos, can include the computer downloads, cell phone downloads, can include jail calls are a significant source. Interviews of individuals, witnesses, suspects, both audio and video interviews. It's our entire case. Any more, I can confidently say there is not a single case that comes into the office that does not have a piece of digital evidence connected to it. So, as I mentioned, all of this information has to be reviewed. It either has to be listened to, it has to be watched in its entirety. We have to know what's contained on there in order to make charging decisions. We have to know what's contained on there in order to know trial strategies, potential weaknesses. We have to know what's on there in order to prepare for our pretrial motion practice. We have to know what's on there in our appellate division. We have to know what's on there when we're doing discovery. What has to be redacted? What can be released? What cannot be released? And we have to know what's on there when we're doing public records requests. So we're getting into each one of these items of digital evidence multiple times, touching it multiple times, and all of that takes time. There's no way, go ahead.
Estimate the time savings would be should the taxpayers fund Axon Justice?
Dan has the actual figures through his presentation, just to give some, even if it saves 10 hours by an APA, we're at least realizing 520 hours of savings, and that's a very conservative.
How long?
520 hours is over the year, but that is a very conservative estimate. That's just to review. The problem, though, some of those pain points where it comes in are that when we add the number of cases, the number of digital items that are connected. So on the average, most simple, let's say traffic stop, there's usually 3 officers, if not more. With each of those officers, we have 3 videos. Body worn camera, dash camera, rear of the car. All of those pick up different things, different statements, comments, view or visuals are much different as well at different times. We have to review all of those. So you have 3 videos per officer. On average, 3 officers per stop. You're already up to 9 videos. That's just the videos. That's not the rest of the digital evidence that comes with it. That doesn't include the interviews. That doesn't include any of the commercial surveillance. That doesn't include the jail calls. When you multiply that on average, conservatively, we are intaking between 1,100 and 1,200 cases. We're presently at 1,200 cases right now as we sit. We have been as high as 1,562 cases just last year. We've been as low as 1,100 cases. So that's where in the past 5 years, that's where we've been. Multiply each one of those cases by 9 videos, you start to see how this multiplies exponentially. In addition to just the volume, how we are receiving these presently is an issue. It's very fragmented. Some of our agencies, approximately half, it's just under half, with 2 more law enforcement agencies coming on board with Axon. We'll be at half of our law enforcement agencies already using Axon. And you'll hear, I believe Dan might touch on it, is evidence.com. So their digital videos are on evidence.com right now. Prosecutor's office has to access evidence.com for those videos to try and locate them, review those videos with those agencies.
Then they just provide a link to defense counsel, right? Like, here's the link to the video within the system.
We provide the link.
Right.
But we still have to, yes, we still have to review those. We don't have any, we have to review it minute for minute, second for second. The agencies that aren't using Axon.com, specifically our largest producer of cases, Mansfield Police Department uses WatchGuard. Last year alone, we had 782 cases submitted to us. 782 times the 3 cases, 3 officers times 3 videos. Again, that's the most simplest. We have many, like the one I'm showing you or have brought here, that's 92 items of digital evidence. So those come to us by also a link, but the only way we can access them is to download it completely, which takes a lot of time. Only Macy's doing that. And then we have to upload it. We can't view it or we can't download it directly to a viewable format. We then have to upload it. 782 cases. Additionally, from there, we have other agencies that aren't using WatchGuard, that aren't using Axon. They have to physically deliver these items of digital evidence to our office. That often results in manpower issues for those smaller agencies. Those agencies tend to be on the perimeter of Richland County.
WatchGuard, a similar system to Axon?
Yeah, yeah. Those agencies, those smaller agencies, have difficult times finding manpower to deliver that information to the office. That results in delayed review, delayed discovery, etc. Not to any fault of those agencies, they just can't leave their jurisdiction unmanned. Retention after the case is completed is still an issue. We can't just get rid of the evidence, the digital information that we have. We have retention schedules to follow. We have appeals to wait for. And even upon that, certain things have to be retained indefinitely. So we then have to figure out how we're going to continue to physically store all of these different subsets of digital media. From there, then, we also have to respond to the public records request. So it's not the criminal APAs at that point that are reviewing for public records. Then the civil APAs have to touch touch all of this information once again. Rededicate all that time once again to each one of these disks, thumb drives, files, etc. Now, as I had stated, time is finite. The number of full-time employees and hours in a day we can't change at this point, but there are several factors that are increasing. We have case volume increasing. We have the types and amount of digital evidence is increasing exponentially daily. The time needed to review the cases continues to go up. Our time spent in the courtrooms is going up as well, leaving less time in the office to review these. So when do we get through these? How do we get through these? All of this results in further delay in the process. Solutions, we have to begin to face it head on. We have to start to look for solutions for these. I've asked respectfully to the commissioners for additional full-time employees. I understand the constraints on the office or on the county, but we can't continue doing business effectively, efficiently, and ethically in the manner in which we are at this point. We have to start to look for those solutions. Those solutions can include just increasing our full-time employees single-handedly and solely. We can look to technology to help increase efficiency, or we can look at a combination of those two. And that's where I would propose is that we look at the combination. But what we're here for today is that technological, leaning on technology to increase our efficiencies. Recently, we had a U.S. Senator come visit the county, and he had told us we need to start to lean on technology to increase our efficiencies. So with that then comes Axon Justice Premier, gentlemen. I'd like to just kind of introduce it, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Ray to further explain what Axon Justice Premier is. Essentially, it's a cloud-based digital evidence management system. It is specifically designed for prosecutors and defense bar. There are public defender's offices that subscribe to this product. So what it does is that it essentially streamlines the digital evidence processes. It addresses each one of those pain points that I spoke about. It addresses the review process. It addresses the discovery process. It addresses record retention and storage. With that, just to kind of sum that up, it's essentially a centralized location to assist us in each one of these processes.
If I were to ask you, before the presentation starts, you took office in 2023.
Yeah,
Looking at your 27 budget would be your fourth budget in 4 years, right? 4, 25, 26, 27. That's not.
that would be accurate.
Looking at your 2027 mid-year budget request, I know that's not the final. What would you say the increase would be from your court request in 27 to when you took office and to ballpark it?
I don't know. That's not why I'm here today.
Well, you are here to request additional budget appropriate.
I'm here out of respect for you gentlemen to be on the front end, knowing that we are moving into the budget cycle soon. So when I make that request, you guys know the products that I'm requesting and why I'm requesting that. That's why I'm here. It is important that we have a ballpark or an understanding as to what that budget might look like, what that price point might be. Out of respect for you guys, that's why I'm here on the front side.
Okay, so we were presented documents for a cost to the budget,
Mhm.
right? And you said it was presented to know what a budget request would be for budget season, right?
All points, yes,
Okay.
all parts.
So I can't ask a budget question?
You can, but I'm just telling you at this point, I'm not in a position to guess at anything. I would like that document in front of me.
I could tell you what it is,
I knew that's where you were going, Mr. Vero. Go ahead and tell me.
72%.
However, you're basing it on requests and not on what we spent. Every single year, we have given back lots and lots of money due to unfilled positions, vacancies in the office.
Give you actuals.
So I think it's
Yeah,
fair to compare those numbers.
I'll give you actuals. Hold on. Give me a second. We're talking budget here. So in 2023, the actual was 1.8 million. Okay. We're looking at around 2.5 million for this year in actuals.
And for 2026,
Yeah.
again, I think that's unfair because that's projected. I'd ask that you compare.
No, that's looking to be about
Right.
actual. We're looking about 40% in 3 years.
Much different than 72% that you suggested.
Well, that would be the next year, but so 40% over 3 years isn't a lot.
Some of those are costs that I cannot control. For example, you previously mentioned the commissioners have put in the public the concerns about the cost of healthcare. That budget includes those costs of healthcare.
Understood.
So that's about, and my understanding is that's about 17% of the increase.
I'm not taking in 2027. I just took that out.
I'd
Previous.
like to, I'd like to see the
All right, let's
presentation.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Banks.
So Dan and Ray,
Yeah, let's see what you have to say.
let's get the dog and pony show out of the way.
Well, thank you everybody for having us today, and thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you could just let me know when it's visible. Does that look all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So like I said, my name is Dan DeGennaro. I'm an account executive or representative with Axon, specifically on the justice team here. As Ray mentioned, we're a team of 10 employees inside Axon that covers the entire country for prosecutors, district attorneys, states attorneys, and public defenders for a product specifically called Axon Justice. For today, I'll go through kind of a high-level presentation, and then Ray will follow up with a demonstration of the actual product. I'm sure Ray will say this as well. We like to keep these as interactive as possible, so feel free to interrupt if there are questions. We like to keep it conversational, and ultimately just want to provide value to any questions you may have. All right, with that being said, all right, a quick agenda. As Jody had mentioned, we'll jump into kind of the challenges in current day prosecutor offices and the justice system overall. We'll do a high level of how Axon solves it. We'll talk a little bit about that return on investment we were just discussing. We'll reference a couple Ohio offices like yourself before they move forward with Axon, facing very similar challenges. Some kind of high level things on why 2026 is a great time to act. And then I'll turn it over to Ray to jump into a demo so you can actually see the technology. Awesome. As Jody had mentioned, about 10 to 15 years ago, right, when body cameras were first introduced to the public in law enforcement agencies, 10 years later, no one really foresaw kind of the avalanche of digital evidence that was coming. As previously mentioned, right, there's things like cell phones now, there's a camera everywhere you look, Ring doorbells, jail call videos, all segmented different types of digital evidence that are now part of the justice system. And with that, you know, what really wasn't seen at that time is how this was going to move into, you know, building cases, prosecuting cases, things like that. So with that being said, right, one traffic stop alone can produce 9+ videos. Reviewing it all manually is unsustainable. Right now, as we mentioned, right, digital evidence comes over on hard drives, flash drives, sometimes email links. To even deeper dive in that a little bit, a lot of these are from disparate systems, right, that are not compatible with current software. So to add on to some of that time, right, there's additional software that's needed to be downloaded to be compatible to make sure that plays. And then additionally, right, you're going to have to be able to put that in one centralized location to build a case, right, review that case, find what's important, and then disclose that downstream to public defense. Part of that, right, is with all that digital evidence, it's just the time it takes, as we've talked about, right? For every hour of footage, again, these are conservative numbers, staff spends at least 2+ hours reviewing that evidence. So, for example, think about a jail call where there's 4 hours of footage, right? And literally, you know, the team is looking for a certain exchange for an alleged crime that was committed. You know, during that four hours, they're looking for really just a needle in a haystack interaction. But with the current status quo, right, you're in an office watching that full 4 hours of video, which can affect attention span, right, which can affect several other things, looking for that one exchange, if it's even there, right? So part of kind of Axon Justice is that review process to help increase efficiency within the office. So I've touched on two things right now, one being that ingestion, being able to centralize that evidence from all your different law enforcement agencies and the general public. And then two, kind of moving into that next part, being able to review that in one centralized platform, working alongside your team inside a prosecutor's office. Again, delays and things like that can increase risk for dismissal and or, you know, errors when it comes to prosecuting crimes and ultimately getting to the truth of what happened for the public's sake. Additionally, right, is was touched on, right, being able to store this in a compliant fashion in one centralized location, be able to access it when needed, is also a challenge. I believe everyone knows prosecutors' offices, once the case ends, it's not the end of the road there. I know certain jurisdictions, excuse me, depending where you are in the country, have certain statutes where digital evidence or a case needs to be maintained while someone's incarcerated up until the first appeal, all adding to that time and challenge of centralizing, being able to review, store this digital evidence. This next screen here will give you just a high level kind of overview, as I touched upon, ingestion, review, and disclosure. Up top here, as we mentioned, there's Axon law enforcement agencies, obviously the company I work for, and then you have your non-Axon law enforcement agencies. Additionally, with the public and witnesses, right? People are always recording things on their cell phones that at times can be entered into cases. And then some of the other things I talked about, like Ring doorbell footage. Additionally, there's a whole new wave of digital technology coming. We all watch the news and see, you know, what's happening right now with drone footage, right, for public events, and CCTV footage for, you know, your local Walmart, your local Target that are constantly running. And then some of those other body worn camera companies we talked about with law enforcement agencies, as well as like digital cameras and things of that nature. There's a camera everywhere. What Axon Justice does is really two ways, right, to consolidate for Axon and non-Axon law enforcement agencies, right? We're able to transmit that digitally, essentially to the prosecutor's office in a secure, safe manner in what we call as evidence.com, which holds all that, receives the evidence. From there, right, we're able to integrate with your case management system and then provide tools to faster review that, things like transcription, redaction, case organization, which Ray will dive into, and then provide also a safe, secure way to disclose that to your public defense to meet your obligation of sharing the digital evidence you have. Just a little bit deeper, and I touched on this, so I'll be brief, but we have redaction, right? Right now, I know there's several different programs that offices use to redact, and think about things like, you know, when a minor is involved in a case and their face needs to be blurred out, any type of PII information like driver's license, credit card, social security numbers that would need to be edited out when being presented, HIPAA records, etc. Additionally, as we've talked about and as a common theme, and you can see from flash drives, right, the amount of digital evidence, being able to comb through that in a secure, centralized location is an instant game changer when it comes time to saving time and getting to the truth faster. Next, I also mentioned secure digital disclosure, right? Being able to share defense, your digital evidence in a secure way, so helping out the defense as well, and be able to transmit that digital evidence versus driving all that digital evidence over on hard drives, which can run a risk of, you know, hard drives, flash drives being lost, being damaged, right? That can hold up cases in court proceedings. And then finally, as we've talked about, right, being CJIS compliant according to federal guidelines of how you transfer all that digital information, how you store it, right, and how it's handled, or how Axon Justice solves it.
Daniel, what are the counties in Ohio that have our size and smaller that have Axon Justice on the prosecutor side?
I have a slide, and I think 2 slides that have them all listed. It
Thank
might
you.
be better for me just to show that
Great.
versus kind of me going off the head. So, and then
Great.
again, we talked about this. We used it. This is used across criminal and civil, right? So it's not just a one side of the office using it. But as we talked about, a lot of redaction, transcription things are needed, and Ray will show you that coming up. Again, I'll touch just on time, right? As I talked about that 4-hour long jail call video, right? Any 2-hour recorded interview means 2 hours of listening just to find one statement. That's interview rooms conducted with CIs, things like that, jail calls, body worn camera footage, you know, witness testimony, anything like that. As an example, one case has 4,000 jail calls in 3 months. Phone privileges were finally suspended, and they're still not through the calls. That is one case out of 1,200 pending. Ohio public record request requires full review before release. Every redaction is manual, and you're looking for things, and then he pulled out the gun is what you're looking for, statements like that. You'll see it with the demo. It's tough for me to do it, no pun intended, justice. But being able to transcribe things manually, being able to search that, you know, with keywords and looking for those exchanges, ultimately leads to the truth and what you're looking for or not looking for faster. And you'll see some of this technology, right, and some of it's cutting edge. The one thing I want to re-emphasize, right, is this isn't here to replace people or anything like that. It's here to increase efficiency, right, and give you the tools that you need to work in a more efficient manner, saving time, solving crime faster, and getting to the truth faster. One other item too, as we mentioned, things like WatchGuard, XactVision, and proprietary codecs from like Walmart's. A lot of times, as I mentioned, you'll need additional players and additional software downloaded. It can be a little bit of a needle in a haystack finding what's compatible to play these videos. With Axon Justice, Ray will touch on this again, but we are able to play about 96% of all these digital evidence videos out there, cutting down that time and bringing in county IT, et cetera, to make compatible versions for you to play. CJIS compliance, just a tough here that I think is beneficial. One of the things with the criminal justice system, right, is that everything needs to be audited. Within Axon Justice, you cannot touch anything without being audited. So there's constantly audit logs, and that goes for when you're sending to defense counsel as well. A clear, concise list of evidence of when digital evidence was sent to defense is provided, which can help court proceedings, etc. That all goes back to chain of custody. So you can even see when you receive that evidence internally, whoever's looking at that evidence, right, providing complete transparency to the system and what is being done to the evidence that you can produce at a moment's notice. And as you guys, hopefully you're somewhat familiar with Axon, but us being a large body camera manufacturer also helps kind of, put this at scale with CJIS compliant, as we have numerous public sector, state and local customers across the country that are all trusted customers on both the body worn camera side and the prosecution side. Okay. As I mentioned, for both criminal and civil division, I'll keep it quick here, but secure disclosure to defense attorneys, quick review of all that digital evidence we talked about, transcript search, and then on the civil side, right, organizing, transcribing evidence faster on civil cases. We were able to provide a trial to the civil team, which reviews were very positive for how they were able to work through a lot of those Ohio public record requests much faster. And then one platform for the whole office, cutting down on segmented systems and other subscriptions. All right. Time savings, right? That 2-to-1 ratio, a 50% time reduction, and then 520 hours saved over a year. That's based very conservatively on, for every 1 hour of footage, 2+ hours of staff time to review. We'd be troubled to find any type of case that has 1 hour of footage. Typically, it's in the double, if not triple digits, depending on the seriousness of the alleged crime, and then being able to search through that faster, which I think you guys will get a better idea of from the actual demo, and then that conservative timeline of how much time you can save a year, which we think is honestly much greater.
Daniel, do you have any data on how many full-time equivalents government save? You said return on your investment. Curious as to what the return on saving in manpower would be. That's a pretty powerful slide, and I look at it and go, man, that's great. So I would imagine that there is a reduction in manpower should your software be implemented. Yes?
That's accurate. I can say what we've seen, right? And this is industry-wide across the country. Doesn't matter if it's a big city, small city, mid-sized city, with low crime, high crime, is there seems to be a large turnover problem within prosecutors' offices, where, from what I've learned talking to my customers, comes from burnout, not being able to keep up with technology. Some of the manual tasks we talked about is that people are leaving much quicker and either going into private defense or corporate America on the law side, because they feel overwhelmed and are spending nights and weekends watching digital evidence videos without the right tools.
So if you could go back, could you go back a slide, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm looking at, I'm just making sure I'm hearing this right, because you said return on your investment, increase in efficiency, 2-to-1 ratio. I mean, that's whacking a lot of time. That's a 50% time reduction. I just want to be clear. You're telling me there's no savings in manpower?
I'm not saying there's no savings in manpower. I think what I was getting at, or what I was saying essentially, is that from what we hear from our customers, the majority of offices are understaffed as it is. I have seen areas or instances, right, where because of that turnover, offices have turned instead to technology transformation versus requesting more headcount. That is very specific to each office and what their unique challenges are. But I wouldn't say there's no saving in manpower or no return on investment. There definitely is. It's just very specific to each office you deal with.
So you're, okay, I'm trying to understand. So you're saying, hey, it may not result in a manpower reduction because there's working weekends, but hey, if you get this, then they don't ask for an additional manpower. Did I hear that right?
I have seen that before. The other area I would say, and what I'm saying and trying to articulate, is that right now what we've seen is the turnover in prosecutors' offices is substantially high because of this. And
Do you have that rate?
I have the rate for this the Richland County Prosecutor Office, what it has been in
What about
2020.
all that? You said you've seen it in other offices.
Yes, I have, and we're talking, I mean, I'd say this is close to what I've seen. Again, every office is different. For instance, in Indiana, I cover, there's a statewide prosecutor shortage across the state.
Okay, so you don't have that rate.
Dan, to reference the county out of Kansas, or the district attorney out of Kansas, he had indicated he had those just here late to 2025, I think that was, he had 19 vacancies, and with the implementation, he had no vacancies, with the exception of one prosecutor that had passed. Does that sound accurate?
That does sound accurate.
So there's at least one example.
And the 20% or 50% savings is on the time you spend reviewing the evidence.
Yes, sir. So that means more
So you got more time to do
trial.
actual prosecuting things you gotta do.
Yes, sir.
And it won't take so long for us to get our stuff as it passed.
There'll be less time spent on public records, more opportunity to review those
I think you're talking about
information.
civil, yeah, that's.
When I see that 520 hours saved, a typical person works 80 hours, 2,080 hours. So that to me equates to about a fourth of a person. Would that be about right?
There's gonna be a significant increase in quality of life. We spend a lot of time. I was working until 10 o'clock last night. I had to shut it down.
Ray and Dan, why don't you continue?
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for that, Jody. Okay. So talking briefly, roughly 25% of the staff turned over in 2 years at a 25 to 30 person office. Recruiting, onboarding, and absorbing lost capacity is a constant cost. Every unfulfilled role means existing staff carries more, which drives more turnover. Again, that's an industry-wide challenge, not unique to Richland. The revolving door is norm at the prosecutor's office. Okay. All right. I think I beat this to death. Unlimited storage, right? So there's no caps or anything like that with Axon Justice. Again, this is a centralized place to store all your digital evidence. And then I know there's a question earlier, right, about other counties in Ohio, similar size or smaller. Some of these rule. This is not all the counties we have in Ohio. There are some larger ones, but I thought for this presentation, these would be better fit. But places like Van Wert, Knox, Muskingum, Union, Belmont, Jefferson, Auglaize, and Claremont.
How many total counties are you in the prosecutor's office?
I got 8 here. I want to say it's about 13 to 15 total, and I can double check that.
In Ohio?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here,
yes.
I have 14, but obviously, Dan, I'd defer to you.
That's 15% of counties.
15%, yeah, and there's roughly we're having many other conversations as well.
How long has Axon been around?
The long answer is since it's a 30-year-old company, so early 90s. Initially started off as the Taser company. As you know, many law enforcement officers have tasers. And then in the kind of mid 2010s, we started entering more of the digital space with body worn cameras, expanded to drone fleet, interview, the justice side on software up until present day.
How long has Axon Justice been on, Dan?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How long has Axon Justice been around?
Since 2020 was the first iteration of Justice. Before that, it was evidence.com, which I believe launched in 2012. So total, I would say 5 years, specifically Justice. Before that, it was evidence.com, which is a much kind of slimmed down, which wasn't purpose built for prosecutors, but was used by many prosecutor offices.
So you have their offices smaller than ours have adopted it. Are there
Yeah.
offices bigger than ours that haven't adopted it?
That haven't?
Yes.
There are some, I will say, like Cuyahoga, Summit, they're all Axon Justice customers. Stark County is an Axon Justice customer, but again, there's definitely some that are larger that haven't adopted it, but we are having many conversations throughout the state.
Okay.
Right. And then just kind of reiterating the things that do, which I think this is kind of a perfect segue for the actual demo. That'll give you guys a better idea instead of, just running through the same slides. But, being able to review evidence, being able to adjust it in one single place, being able to audit it, keep track of everything for the workflow, and then, freeing up staff to focus on, finding, kind of processing cases in pursuing crime, and then no evidence is lost to capacity limits, drive failure, or physical disaster, which moves away from some of that risk we discussed. Why act now in 2026, right? The civil team ran a trial, so they are used to using it. The reviews were very positive from a time saving standpoint, an efficiency standpoint. In the future, if the office does grow, right, there is the ability to add users to it. And then one thing I always like to mention too, there is a non-appropriations clause. So I know it's a long-term contract, but if there's a year where the county doesn't receive funding for this, there is the ability to opt out of that contract. Awesome. All right, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but really appreciate the time and the questions. And I'll turn it over to Ray now if there aren't any further questions to actually show you the platform.
Good morning, everyone. Let me know when you guys can see my screen, please.
Yeah.
Yep, we can see it.
Fantastic. So I'm first going to start off, and what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of follow a case here, and we're going to start as a law enforcement agency. So I'm going to start as a police agency inside of your jurisdiction, like Mansfield and or any of the other ones as well. And the way how we handle the ingestion of evidence from those different agencies is two different ways. One is going to be for our Axon agencies. So 50% of your agencies already are on Axon and evidence.com, which is what you're seeing here. Now, for the other agencies like Mansfield, that is a WatchGuard customer, we will also spin them up an evidence.com portal, which is what you see also in front of your screen, very similar. The benefit of that, especially for Mansfield, is going to be a connection, integration that we have with Motorola WatchGuard to be able to take that digital evidence and send it to evidence.com. Why do we want to do that? Because then we ultimately want to send it right to Axon Justice. So a central place for all of the different law enforcement agencies to send their case over to Richland County Prosecuting Office. So I first want to start off, and I have a Richland County case here. When I click inside of that, again, I'm still acting as that law enforcement agency. I have 23 different pieces of evidence inside of this case organized via body-worn camera, jail call, and reports. Again, pretty generic case here. I'm going to want to now share this case over to the prosecuting office. I'm going to click on external sharing. I'm going to create a new share. Inside of the sharing portal, in my environment, we are sharing to multiple different agencies. However, in Richland County, from what your police agencies are going to see, they're only going to have one different option for this. Again, right to Richland County. I'm going to click on Axon County Attorney's demo here. We have a few different options. We can have our portal shared directly to a group, say an intake group, or if it needs to be shared to an individual user, say like Jody, if there's a case that Jody needs to specifically see, that can be changed so then she gets notified. I'm going to click on share all evidence because we want to ensure that all the time that all the evidence gets shared to the prosecuting office. We don't want to have any missing evidence. I'm just going to share a case here. And just like that, we have now created a digital forensic copy of that digital evidence from the law enforcement side to the prosecuting office. Does anybody have any questions regarding just the ingestion? I haven't even shown you Axon Justice. So I wanted to talk about that ingestion piece and getting evidence. Wonderful. I'm going to head over now into Axon Justice. This is the screen that you are going to see and your prosecutors and your civil team are going to see when they log in the beginning of the day. It's all going to be organized via cases. We're going to see all the different police numbers, court number, internal number, which is going to be that CMS number for everyone. We also have accused and files. We have heard from our customers that even just seeing the amount of files is very beneficial right at a glance. So this top case that I have selected here, there are 95 total pieces of evidence. but there are 62 new pieces of evidence that have not been viewed by myself or anybody else inside of my office. This is all completely customizable via your users. So if they feel they don't want to see accused, or maybe they do, you can reorder this and change that however you would like. I'm going to hop into one of my cases here. First and foremost, we're going to see all that metadata up here at the top. But even more importantly is going to be the case organization that we're going to see below. As you can see here, we have different folders. We have folders within folders. And we have red dots and open red dots and bold for our titles of different pieces of evidence. What's the benefit of this? There are 3 different variables for that. Say this unbolded, that means that I have viewed this piece of evidence. If it is bolded, but that open red dot, that means that someone else in the office has viewed this piece of evidence, but I have not. And then a full red dot means that I have not viewed this piece of evidence, or anybody in my office has not viewed this piece of evidence. What's the benefit of that is if there is a referral that comes into your agency and maybe that case gets handed around from one prosecutor to another prosecutor, and or maybe it's in the hands of a paralegal and or a legal assistant that is viewing something. I do want to point out that Dan also kind of mentioned here, everything and anything inside of Axon Justice is in an audit log. You cannot open a case and or view a piece of evidence without it hitting an audit log and saying, hey, Raymond Pitska has viewed this piece of evidence, or Daniel has viewed this piece of evidence. Furthering on the review portion here is I'm just going to hop into a zip file. So one of those interesting codecs that we're able to view right inside of the cloud. Without even extracting a zip file, I'm able to open it up and then view pieces of evidence. Not even just any piece of evidence, we also have Axon Investigate, which allows up to 98% of all codecs across the world that we're able to view that evidence inside of our cloud without the need of trying to track down, hey, there is a weird codec here. The general census is picture a 7-Eleven, a Walgreens, a Walmart. In Milwaukee, we have a casino that had very interesting codecs that we struggled with our attorneys and my team that were unable to view that pieces of evidence. So inside of Axon Justice, we're able to just view that evidence natively. Does anybody have any questions about anything that you have seen so far?
I'll just pitch in, Ray, that the whole issue of all the weird codecs for all the proprietary closed circuit television, that you got the Goose and is that 7-Eleven and all these different places where crimes happen, it really becomes an issue in court at the end of the day. We have a hard time getting that evidence to play in court. So this isn't a time saving, but it is an effectiveness booster for us to know that whatever type of video that we have, we'll be able to play it seamlessly in court and not be goofing around trying to download things and worrying about embarrassing myself in front of the jury if I hit play and the darn thing doesn't play or whatever.
This is the actual screen you might pull up in a trial.
Well, I think you'd pull up the piece of evidence and then use their native player to play it.
Furthering on inside of Axon Justice, I want to point out that anything with an audio stream, again, if we don't care if it is a WatchGuard or a Motorola or a Panasonic body cam or even a Walmart surveillance camera, if it has an audio stream, we are going to transcribe that for you inside of Axon Justice, effective immediately once that evidence becomes ingested into Axon Justice. And
Is that
that
what I'm
is
seeing in
shown.
the lower right corner here? An
Yes,
officer
sir.
conducted traffic stop, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, sir. This is shown in a couple different portions here. One, this is going to be our transcript summary, so we're going to summarize that audio for
And you
you.
actually see the dialogue below that.
Yes, sir. And it works how you would anticipate. So if I find a portion that I want to view, I could just click on the timestamp inside of that transcript, and it will jump me right to that part of the video. Not only that, we're able to search for different terms inside of this piece of evidence as well. Again, any piece of evidence, you're able to do this. So I'm just going to search for neuropathy, because this gentleman talks about having neuropathy. So I'm able to type that inside of the search term, and then I could just go to all of those different results, and it will take me directly to where this gentleman says it. Taking this just another little level here, say we do need to start editing the transcript. We have an edit transcript tool. When I click inside of that, it's going to open up in a new tab. We're able to show speaker labels inside of this, and speaker labels are going to match the inflection of the voice through the video. So the officer will be matched together with the officer, and then the client and or defendant will also have a speaker label, and you can rename these. Say speaker 2 is Dan, it's going to match that inflection like I kind of just mentioned. I want to point out here that this is unverified. And it's unverified because this is generated via AI. If we want to put our stamp of approval on this, because we always want to have human in the loop here at Axon, is we're able to save this, this transcript after we make changes on this. Say we went through it and say, yes, this is accurate and it can go downstream to court. We save that, and then we can verify that transcript. Via your roles and permissions inside of Axon Justice, you can control that maybe only one person or two people have the ability to verify a transcript inside of the environment. Or you can have it for multiple people.
You can translate into other languages as well?
Yes, sir. As of right now, we have 68 languages that we translate into. By the end of the year, we are anticipating much higher than 68. That was a good call out. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions regarding transcript? Now let's talk about redactions. And what we've seen on the civil side that was trying out our software is the ability to redact out certain things inside of disparative videos. And that is just one use case for our redaction studio. Another use case is actually going to be highlighting things that are inside of our videos as well. I'm going to start off here on the right-hand side is our AI redaction assistant. And when I click start all, we're going to go through this whole video looking for notebooks, screens, mobile devices, license plates, heads, ID documents, and audio PII. I also like to show tracks here because when I show tracks, it shows a little bit better visualization on where our assistant is taking place. So if I go to about 1 minute and 20 seconds, and I'm going to lower the volume so it doesn't hurt anybody's ears, it will follow this gentleman's head.
You do? Yeah, I did. You did? Yeah.
And let's say I need to redact this gentleman's face. All I need to do is hit redact on this person's face, and it will now be redacted.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen too many cop shows. Okay, well. But I've been.
Let's take this just to another different level. So if we're beyond just our redaction assistant here, I say I want to highlight this taillight that is happening in the background here. Say I want to highlight that or redact it. I'm going to use our object tracker and drag and drop over this taillight, and it's going to follow that taillight while it is in the frame inside of this video. And then all I have to do is hit play, and it will trace that taillight. Now we just talked about we want to highlight this. What we're able to do is we can change this to inverted. Say we just want to see that taillight. And or if we want to outline this, change it to 8 pixels, change it to red. Picture the use case for this, everyone, for guns and drugs. Guns and drugs is a very good example for this. If there is an officer-involved shooting, this is a very good use case to say, hey, here is a gun. This is what it is pointing at, highlighting that object. Now let's say we need to do some audio redaction. In the upper right-hand corner here is transcript. When I hit on transcript, we're going to see that transcript that we just kind of saw. and say I need to redact out a word, and let's just use that same word as before, neuropathy. So let's type in neuropathy, and all I have to do is click redact search results. It's going to find all of the different forms of the word neuropathy. And just like that, it is now redacted out of my transcript. Let's take this another level. Say I need to redact out a whole paragraph or multiple paragraphs. All I have to do is drag and drop over my transcript and hit redact. And now I have a whole paragraph or multiple paragraphs that are redacted outside or inside my video. The use case for this also, everyone, is going to be for jail calls. If you want to redact out jail calls as well. CI interviews is another use case for redaction. I want to talk about exporting this video as well. In the upper right-hand corner is that extract button. Why is this important? It's because every time that we are doing something inside of this video, it is just a project file. When we are going to extract out this redaction, what that is doing is it's creating a derivative file, always keeping your original best piece of evidence available. And that is Redaction Studio. Does anybody have any questions in terms of redaction? Great. I'd like to show you guys one other feature here inside of Axon Justice, which is going to be our AI search. Our AI search is an ability that you can search for weapons, vehicles, objects, apparel, and more. And I really want to highlight the and more here. You're able to search for, quite frankly, open terms on what is happening inside of my case. I know inside of this case, via the summary, that there is a silver Honda. Maybe that piques my interest in terms of when I'm reviewing this case. So if I type in silver Honda, it's going to find all the times that is mentioned inside of a document, mentioned inside of a transcript of a call, and or the transcript of a video, and furthering on if there is any image of a silver Honda as well. So when I click on this image, it is pulling up a silver Honda. And I want to point out there are 0 identifying factors in the metadata of this being a silver Honda besides the image itself being a silver Honda. It is not labeled. It is just vehicle 01 and there's no other metadata. Again, getting you quicker to the smoking quote unquote gun of your case. You can also type in things like Sig Sauer, gun, drugs. It's pretty limitless when it comes to our AI search.
So if I could interrupt, Ray, just to appreciate the value, we had mentioned, or you had mentioned that we have over 4,000 jail calls in one of our cases presently. We know that there's code words for guns, let's say maybe a pipe. We could put pipe in that search engine. It's going to search all 4,000 jail calls, assuming they're uploaded there to evidence.com or Axon Justice there. All of the videos, any of the digital evidence essentially for that word pipe, and it's going to immediately draw our attention to it, correct? So when we multiply 20 minutes, our average jail call is 20 minutes long times 4,000, and it's just going to immediately draw us right to that particular moment. And that's just one case.
Exactly. We have heard from our customers, furthering on what Jody just said, is jail calls is a really good use case for this. Hey, I wanted to search for this person's street name that he is mentioning inside of his jail calls. You're able to do that, with our AI search. Now let's talk about how do we get this case that we just prepared downstream to defense. And that is going to be with our shares tab here inside of the case. I'm going to click on classic shares. And I'm going to click on new share. And when I click on new share, it's going to populate all the pieces of evidence that have not been shared yet. I do want to point out, you can mark any piece of evidence as do not disclose. Picture in your jurisdiction, if medical records can't be sent downstream to defense, Or if there's an unredacted CI video that may not be able to be sent downstream to defense, you can mark that as do not disclose, and it will not even appear in this list to go downstream to defense. But in this case, in this demonstration, I'm going to select all the piece of evidence. I'm going to click on next here. I'm going to select download link. So defense will then get a download link for this case. I'm just going to type in Dan DeGennaro at axon.com. You're able to then set how long do you want this link to be active. You could change it from 90 days. You could change it to 180 days where you want this link to be active, and say they should get a table of contents, which is essentially a repository of everything that is being sent over to the defense attorney. You can also send over the police audit trail and transcripts if your jurisdiction would like that as well. And then hitting share. And as soon as that, it is now sending that email and this discovery to the defense attorney. And with that, that concludes my demonstration of Axon Justice.
The defense gets evidence is what you allow them to see, right? They don't access directly and see something that maybe you haven't seen or don't want to share, correct?
That is correct. Sorry.
Correct. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Is there any part of discovery that you would allow the guy to do in lieu of a manual
Never,
inspection?
never. There's always going to be a person looking at it. Absolutely.
Well, this is impressive. Great technology.
One of our current process, you saw the click and send to the defense counsel presently with digital evidence. So example, going back to this file, the 92 items of digital evidence, that has to be discovered to defense counsel. That means there's another person that is downloading onto another type of media and then providing that to defense. Defense counsel has to walk over and pick those items up. A couple things we're experiencing there. One, we have additional costs for that that type of media, whether that be external hard drives, we borne that cost, or defense counsel bornes that cost if they want to provide that to us. Also there, I'm sure the court has, or excuse me, I'm sure the commissioners have heard about the decreased number of court-appointed counsel on our list. They're starting to expand, coming from further directions. They're not here. It's not as easy for them to walk across the street, one block to our office to discovery. This permits them to essentially work remotely, more efficiently as well for the defense counsel. They can receive it in a more timely manner, having it at their hands, more prepared, able to proceed, more effective and efficient at pretrial as well.
A couple questions on the contract. These two contracts are identical, and other than one's 5 years and one's 10 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What's the time to activate it? Say if we flip the switch now, yeah, we'll go with it. How long until it's activated and people fully trained to use it?
Dan, what is your average turnaround there as far as having us up and running our go time?
Yep, implementation and training. Typically, it's around anywhere from 30 to 60 days. Essentially, there is an evidence.com environment right now within the office. We upgrade that evidence.com portal to Axon Justice, and then our onboarding team sets calls with an administrator, and then the broader office for training. So anywhere from 30 to 60 days, I would say total, sometimes quicker, but most of the time 60 days at the max for an office of your size.
I don't know if we've touched on it, I'm sorry, enough, is that this isn't just a prosecution benefit. This is all of our law enforcement agencies are benefiting here with how they are bringing evidence to our office. So they're experiencing time savings, defense bar is receiving time savings, cost savings as well throughout this. I want to make sure that that's.
This is a two-part question. Regardless, if we go with this either a 5 or 10 year option, suppose we've had it for 6 or 8 months. For some reason, you don't like it. Are we locked in? And that's number one. And number two, has it happened before? Somebody, a county signed in, had it for a while, says, you know, it's really not our thing.
Yep, understand there. So as I mentioned in the slide, there is the non-appropriations clause. From my understanding on the Axon side, that's strictly like if the county does not have funding or receive funding for it, you can opt out of the contract.
Anybody done that? Somebody said, expressed dissatisfaction with their expectation of what it would do and then look it properly or wasn't the advantage they thought it would be.
Not to my knowledge.
Every customer is a happy customer, right?
I would say that's fair. And also one of the reasons we provide the names of other counties, we definitely encourage you guys to talk to your neighbors or other counties in the state, as we feel that's the best way to really get an evaluation as the other offices in the state as well.
That was one of the reasons that the civil team did a trial on it, because there's other redaction software out there. And we'd tried some of it, and some of it's difficult to use. There's a steep learning curve. You're essentially video editing, which is not what I'm trained to do. And jumping on this trial, I mean, our experience was that the software was very intuitive and the features were helpful in preparing the public records requests. So that was a big reason why we wanted to do the trial, because we didn't want to see the office go a direction with this product that then, you know, well, here's what you have to use and it not meet our needs. So we've already kind of vetted that.
Is it my understanding that it's, you pay by the month? And it's not like we buy the software and then have an annual fee. It is $55,000 to $59,000, $60,000 per month.
Oh, no, I don't believe so. It's an annual contract. So I believe those are the annual numbers.
To have on both of them be the dates where those are due, and they are all annually, they should be.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I do have a question.
It's just that it's always that same month every year.
And there's no upfront cost beyond the monthly?
The one-time upfront fee of $15,000. Is that correct, Dan? It's my understanding.
Yes, and that can be spread throughout the life of the contract as well for implementation. So there are a couple different ways we can structure it.
That what's listed as standard deployment?
Yes, standard onboarding,
Page
standard.
3.
Yes.
Both of these documents show the both quotes expired in June. Are they still active costs?
I had asked, yeah, so when we first began looking at this product, these were the quotes that were offered, and then we asked to trial on the civil side for the redactions, make sure it's going to work on both sides of the house. So that's how we got past that date. Axon was very accommodating and helpful for our civil team. They were able to get through 2 public records requests using the software. So kind of 2 different types of cases, making sure it's going to cover some of our all bases. And they were pleased, and ultimately that's what brought us here. In talking with Dan, I had asked that specific question. Dan, don't want to take it from you, but I believe you had indicated that number is good through the rest of the year.
Yep, that number is valid until the end of 2026. Nothing's official as of right now, but from what we're hearing internally, due to the cost of technology and AI, it does look like prices will be increasing next year. So one of the benefits of signing this year, right, is locking in this year's price versus future increases.
Going off of increases, and I have some familiarity with the system, so I understand Axon Justice on both ends. You know, when we're looking at nearly a $660,000 cost to the taxpayer, without a savings and headcount, what I did is I went and looked at 2023 actuals to 2025 actuals across the county in terms of general fund budget increases. That's not to say you just don't do it, because it helps the office. Safety is very important. The county prosecutor's office is the number one biggest percentage increase in all of Richland County in actual expenses from 2023 to 2025 at 20%. Second is the sheriff, which includes massive headcount in jails and food and 911 with approved collective bargaining increases of 6%. The Richland County Prosecutor's Office has had the highest percentage of increase in actual expenses looking at 23, 24, and 25. Compare and contrast with the prosecutor or our office, we've had a 3% increase over the same time period. So these are just things we have to, and I'm not saying we're not going to do it, but the prosecutor's office is the number one elected office in Richland County in terms of actual increases percentage wise.
And that's fair. But part of that is because we have been significantly, the salaries, going through that salary survey and such, and it was able to demonstrate that our salaries were significantly below. Those were implemented then during that same time frame, and we're continuing to adjust as market adjusts.
Sheriff's office said the same thing. Common Pleas said the same thing.
Attorneys are
Clerk said the
expensive.
same thing.
They don't have to employ doctorates. I
understand.
have to employ doctorates in order to be at minimum qualifications.
Letting you know, just the dollars. Your office is the biggest percentage increase from 23 to 25.
Additionally, in there was unfunded mandates from the state. That was another salary or headcount increase. Public safety is one, important, but also expensive.
That's why sheriff's is number 2. Yeah, we were 3.9%.
Some of those costs I can't control.
Same with all the other elected offices, though. We have to be fair. But that's okay. I'm just saying.
Has the rest of your staff had a chance to review this,
Yeah, review, sorry.
the software, and know what it's about and everything?
Yes, sir.
Well, your presentation for the need was compelling. But one of the things you said in your presentation is there's a finite, I think that's what you used, we stick with the 15-cent words, but that there's a limited amount of time. Why do we have 6 people here?
In case
It's the sheriff does it too. You bring so many people in, they've seen the product. You did get a couple comments from your number one assistant. We appreciate that. But you got so much work over there to do, and yet 1,100 cases, and here we're talking with 6 people when I think you could have done it yourself. That's just a minor thing compared to the amount of money we're talking about here. I want to research this a little more, talk to some of these other counties, because I see where this could be a very good thing. Other than the money, I think it's great. And I'm not saying no. I just want to talk to other counties and see how.
If I could comment on that respectfully, I wanted to make sure I was able to cover all of the questions here. So each one of these individuals, Macy has a different function in the office than what Ellison has, than what Brian has, than what Martin has. So that's why I wanted to make sure I was able to answer every one of the potential questions you may have firsthand from them, from the boots on the ground, so to speak. I understand your point.
I have a question for Dan. Dan, it's unusual that we would terminate a contract midterm, but you had mentioned the non-appropriation clause. In the county commissioner's appropriation to the prosecutor's office, it's not a contract by contract appropriation. So I guess my question would be if for whatever reason there were a financial crisis that were so extreme that led to the county having to cut out this subscription, Axon respectful of simply the county identifying this as the reason for a reduction in appropriation. We don't have an appropriation attached to a contract.
Yes, and there's language within the terms and agreement we can share or point to that specifically lays out that. But that's what it's intended for.
Okay.
Looking at the cost, I have an observation, and I think I know why. If I look at 60 months and I break the total cost down by 60 months for the 5-year contract, it comes out to $4,769 a month. If I look at the 10-year contract, it's $5,134 a month. So it's to our advantage to go with a shorter, a lesser term contract based on cost per month. 7% more, look at the monthly cost on a 10-year contract than a 5-year contract.
Yeah, so I definitely a great call, and I think there's two different ways to look at that. One being, right, our Axon's goal and hopefully the office's goal would be this would be a great solution for you. You see great results, right? And then in 5 years, you would want to renew as its Axon goals as well. In that 5 years, you would renew at the price of whatever it was at 5 years into those terms and conditions. The benefit of a 10-year contract is that, you know, you're locking in today's price and terms and everything for the next decade.
Well, there's still built-in percentage increases. The general
Absolutely.
difference isn't much. It's about 3%. All you're doing is starting at the 10-year a little lower by $1,000 or so. I mean, there's a savings, but it's not significant if you're locked in for 10 years.
Yes,
It's not substantial.
yes. Again, I think the way to think about it is if in 5 years, right, say you wanted to renew the contract, you would renew it whatever the price is in 5 years. Which
Yes.
obviously I can't speak to that because it's 5 years away and I don't know kind of the market predictions of that.
We know it won't be lower.
That's a fair guess, I would say.
The other, with the 5 and 10-year contract or the proposal that we have here, that includes unlimited storage. Is there any guarantee in either 5 years or 10 years when you're up for renewal that unlimited storage is included?
There is no guarantee, as unfortunately I cannot predict that far. The benefit of the 10-year as well, besides locking in the price today, is that you're locking in the unlimited storage for the next decade as well.
And speaking of storage, if the prosecutor were to, at the end of 5 years or 10 years, change companies, how do you handle the records and the data that how do you handle that at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. So the data is yours. It's the offices and the counties, right? So if you are choosing not to renew at the end of the term, the ask is to let us know as soon as reasonably possible. And we decide between the two parties, right, what that date is. From there, we give you about 90 days. And before that, obviously, discuss your plan, but you are responsible for moving that data. We can advise best practices on migration, et cetera. I believe we do offer a service as well. But those are the options. And again, it's obviously our goal to have you guys stay on as a customer.
Well, I don't have any other questions. We've been looking at it for almost an hour and a half now, and I'm very impressed with the technology and the advantages it offers to the prosecutor's office. Of course, have to have other discussions to see where we go from here. But I thank everybody for your time and in answering our questions and your patience in doing so. Is Carl still on the line?
I guess I have one more question.
Okay.
Does Axon Justice have a GSA scheduled contract or Sourcewell or something that allows for ease in procurement?
Yes. So we are on the State of Ohio agreement, as well as Sourcewell, Omnia, and several others that are typically used throughout procurement process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Jody, thank you so much for putting this together. This was really important stuff, and I think it would go a long way in law enforcement and making all your lives easier. As I think most of you know, my son's a assistant district attorney, and he works long hours, so I think that comes with the occupation. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, everybody.
Is there any other business before the Board of Commissioners at this time? Okay, at 11:24, we stand adjourned.